what do I do with this skill that I got that isn't going to pay me anything other than 6-figure 15 years down the line? I never thought of myself as a person that would be able to afford a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or any of the things that I have today. I never perceived myself that way, but I just eventually found myself here.
How much is that sweater?
$3,500.
$3,500 for that sweater?
Yes.
You could buy that at Walmart.
Probably. It wouldn't feel the soft, but how's this guy doing it? He's a baseball player. Yeah. How's he flipping real estate? He doesn't have an architecture degree or an engineering degree or master's in finance. I was like, there must be something wrong with this.
Yeah.
I joined your program, full 30 grand to find out if you're legit or not. And within the first day, I was like, oh my God, I bamboozled myself. I spent all this money and all this time trying to get to what Ryan did, and he just did it because he went after it. And he just broke it down to its most simple elements.
What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Wealthy Way podcast, where our goal is to help you not go broke trying to get rich. Today, I've got actually one of my partners, my co-founder at Tykes NFT. This guy actually has been designing my dream home on the mountain. He's become a really good buddy of mine over the years. He went from a weird guy with pink hair who I was like, I don't know what this guy's doing as one of my students to now, just like I said, a really good friend and somebody who I'm excited to do a lot of things with, especially with like Pineda Ventures and other things. I got Amr Samaha, dude.
Thanks for having me, dude. And,
you got green here today.
I do. This is the Tykes Green. We're here for a Tykes event, so I thought pay some homage and maybe some marketing.
I like kind of like the pastel-ish color of it.
Yeah.
It's different than the green I had.
That's true. Yours was a little bit more bright.
Yeah.
A little bit more neon.
Yeah, that one's kind of more bluish too.
Yeah. We did put some blue tinges into it. But that being said, what happened to the colored hair? When are we seeing that come back?
Probably after this. I think, you were first on the show maybe a little over a year ago, probably a year and a half. I don't know if I had dyed my hair yet before you were on the show.
No, you haven't. But we spoke about it that day.
And it was probably then where I was just like, you know what, I'll do it. And I dyed it blue, and then now it's become a thing. And now you're basically peer pressuring me to do it again.
On live television, yes.
Well,
recorded podcast.
Yeah, live television, aka a month before it gets released. But yeah, dude, I don't know. What colors do you think I should do?
I thought the pink looked really good on you, but also the Tykes Green is pretty solid.
I do like the green too.
And it's really in right now. And one of the other things that we discussed in the last episode where I was on your show was the impact that having colored hair had on my experience navigating the world around me.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting seeing you as a public figure do that and have, your opinion on it, which I thought you mentioned that you had a pretty positive reaction.
Yeah, people ask me all the time, like, bro, when are you going to color it again? What's next? So it definitely has had a positive reaction. I think, too, before on that show, bro, you've made me actually do a lot of things now that I'm like piecing this together in hindsight. But on that show, we talked about watches.
Yes.
And at that time, I didn't have a watch.
Yes.
And now, I've got lots of watches.
Yes.
And you know what? We went down like this rabbit hole of just like only talking about watches.
We did. We talked about watches. We maybe touched on design a little bit.
Yeah.
And we touched on the impact of coloring my hair on my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think I even had like the Porsche Taycan or anything yet because you're a luxury car guy. So like, bro, you've ruined me, but no, it's been for the good.
I'm excited to have had some sort of impact on you because you've definitely changed my life for the better.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. So for those who don't know, give them like the 2-minute story of like who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So my name is Amr Samaha. I started off as an architect. I got a degree in architecture, something I was really passionate about. Design has been something that I've always levitated towards ever since I was a little child. I was a weird kid that would paint their room every other week. My parents didn't know what to do with me most of the time. They just wanted, a regular child that would do the regular things, kick the ball and do all that, which I also did.
Like me.
Exactly. Which I also did. And I enjoyed track and field and things to that end. And I was really good at it. But it wasn't something that I felt very passionate about. Fast forward several years, got my architecture degree and realized very quickly that there isn't a whole lot of money in doing that. So hindsight 2020, I probably wouldn't have done that because even though I have a lot of passion for it, it's not a very easily monetizable skill. So I kind of sat with that thought and I was like, man, what do I do with this skill that I got that isn't going to pay me anything other than 6-figure, 15 years down the line. So I kind of said, I'll drop it. I'll just learn whatever I can that is a derivative to architecture and create a business out of that. Because I saw that everyone around me was extremely successful because they had businesses. It wasn't because they had this one skill that they went to work with, like being an attorney or a doctor. The vast majority of people around me that were extremely successful were business owners. And they were business owners like yourself or myself now, where they had multiple revenue streams, right?
Yep.
So I took that skill and then I went ahead and started working on creating a business that was adjunct to architecture. And what that business did at the time was basically signage and image. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it basically manufactures spaces like this. So now that you've created this image for your podcast, if you were to move from this location to a different location, say you moved to New York City and people were familiar with your setup, you need someone to replicate that experience for your audience, right? And if you take that to scale, companies like Porsche or Audi or whatever other name brand have an identity for every location that they have.
Yeah.
And it happened to be at the time that I was in Egypt, and at the time Shell had acquired Total Oil had acquired all of the Shell locations. So that meant that there was a massive rebranding of every single location that was Shell Oil to Total Oil. And we basically put in a bid, won the bid, and the rest was history. And then from there, I had to do military service for a little bit. And once I was done with military service, didn't have colored hair or anything.
Yeah.
I traveled for a while, moved to the US, and started working in finance because I was really interested in understanding how people raise money, how money flows between big pockets, and how money's generated and created. Even though I had done my own business, I didn't understand how to sell a business, to buy a business, to raise capital for a business. And that was a skill that I really needed and I felt would help my growth.
Yeah.
Shortly after, I started doing real estate development. And then while doing real estate development, realized that my money cycle was completely off. I was waiting to see my money come back every 5 or so years. I was like, no, I can't keep doing this. And I think in saying that out loud, the Instagram algorithm recommended you.
There we go.
And I was like, man, how's this guy doing it? He's a baseball player.
Yeah.
How's he flipping real estate? He doesn't have an architecture degree or an engineering degree or master's in finance. I was like, there must be something wrong with this.
Yeah.
I joined your program, full 30 grand to find out if you're legit or not. And within the first day, I was like, oh my God, I bamboozled myself. I spent all this money and all this time trying to get to what Ryan did, and he just did it because he went after it, and he just broke it down to its most simple elements. Mm-hmm. And since then, I've basically replicated a couple of your businesses and integrated them into my own.
Yep.
And I've learned so much having just had you as a business mentor. And we've built obviously businesses together, and seeing how you go from concept to execution has probably been one of the most revolutionary things for my business.
What do you mean by that?
So a lot of people, including myself, I think, overanalyze and hypothesize what could go wrong, the pitfalls. You kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier to our audience outside, where you're like, man, you're talking to me about every LLC for every home that you flip. You're getting caught up in the minutia of like, what happens if you put another home in another LLC? You don't have anything to lose to start off with.
Yeah.
And that mentality was something that I was really bogged down by. I had to overanalyze every single step of what's about to play out and needed to know the answer prior to getting into it. And watching how you conducted business as my partner, I realized that there's a lot of noise that you really don't need to focus on immediately. Mm-hmm. There are things that have to be solved at some point in time.
Right.
But their priority is so far down the list that you shouldn't be focusing on them today.
And most likely you don't even need to solve it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it might happen, maybe, but when it does happen, then you should deal with it then.
And you may not even be the one who has to deal with it.
Exactly. Exactly. But putting that barrier to entry for yourself and not doing anything is probably the demise of every small startup.
Yeah.
And just seeing that and being able to replicate some of the motions that you do for your businesses now that I've been privy to your enterprise has really helped me scale my businesses. In the time that I got to know you, I used to provide zero architecture services. And I remember asking you, Ryan, maybe I should flip homes. And you're like, no, just sell your architecture services. I was like, but there's no money in it. He's like, but you're good at it. You need scale. And I started selling my architectural services. And within less than a year, we had done over 7-figure. And I was like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. And it was super low effort for me because I already had the team that was doing the same work for my own developments.
Yeah. You built this team of architects and designers that, you only wanted to use on your own deals.
Yes.
And your own development.
Probably the stupidest idea of all time.
Well, and the problem was that we talked about is that like development is a game that takes years and years to finally get paid.
Correct.
To may or may not get paid.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And so it's like for me, I always want to have businesses that pay me today and pay me, like I want a mix of pay today and tomorrow, right? Yeah. And if you're just getting started, I think everyone needs pay today.
Correct.
You can't go into development and like eat tomorrow. You got to make money today.
I was really, really slender trying to eat tomorrow.
Yeah. So, but for you were like, all right, well, I'm in development. I got these big deals. Like it's kind of like a, not slap in the face to like go do architectural work, but kind of like beneath you, I think was your mentality.
That's how I felt. Yeah. I was like, I'm not going to go ask someone for, 20 to a few $100,000. And, net profit on these projects is really low for architects because it's a service that requires a lot of manpower and high paid employees. So I was like, at the end of the day, I'm going to make such a small cut on every project. It's just going to burn me out. But the reality of it was it's actually profitable. It's far more profitable than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And people like our product.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said. I was like, I'll tell people this all the time. They're like, Ryan, should I start this new business in real estate? Because a lot of people like yourself want to get into wholesaling or flipping. And I'll say, well, what do you currently do? I don't just tell everyone to go flip and wholesale. I don't believe that everyone should flip and wholesale.
Yeah.
And, they'll be like, all right, well, I got, in your case, you're like, I do development. I got this architect firm and you showed me your designs. I'm like, dude, your designs are dope. How much does your architect firm make? And you're like, well, we don't do anything for anybody. It's just for my stuff. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, why would you not sell this? This is so good. Like you have unique IP. You're not selling just Cracker Jack homes that anyone can go buy. Like you have something unique, just like I have something unique with all of our products. Like, our events, our coaching, it's very unique. Like, there's other people who sell, coaching on real estate. There's other people who are architects. But when you have something that's so totally unique, you can charge whatever you want for it because they can't buy it anywhere else.
Completely agree. And, even though you told me that, this is probably another thing that I learned is that I'm very stubborn. I was like, no, he doesn't know my industry. And for the next couple of months, I was like, no, I'm going to think of something different along the lines of what he told me. And that was probably a waste of my time because as soon as I actually heard out what you were saying and understood it and went to implementation, it just picked up like immediately. Mm-hmm. That I almost do 0 to no marketing and you always give me grief for it.
Yep.
And even now I'm like, man, should I do exactly what Ryan told me? Or what are the chances that he's wrong? And every day that passes, I realize that I'm just stubborn and I don't want to do the motions that I'm uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
And it's not actually about what's right and what's wrong. I'm just trying to validate
everybody wants to go towards comfort.
Exactly. And I'm not comfortable in front of a camera. I'm not comfortable creating an ad. I'm not comfortable talking about any of this stuff.
You're not comfortable being a sales guy.
No, I'm not. And for whatever reason, I'm not. But what I realize every day is your advice of living in the uncomfortable position is probably the thing that's holding me back from the success that I'm trying to achieve. So maybe on this podcast, I'll start doing content the way that you've been asking me to.
There you go. Well, we're going to cut it up regardless. So whatever you do with it, you do with it. But yeah, I had a mental coach in college. His name was Ken Revisa. He's world renowned for baseball and the mental side of the game. And, he would always say, he's like, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. That was his go-to saying. And that's, when you think about it, I learned that as an 18-year-old. Like that stuck with me a long time because, I was like, we as teenagers, and it's funny because I say this as a teenager, I was thinking this, but then I look at like 30-something-year-old adults and they act like this.
Like myself.
Yeah. And they were like, he's like, Ryan, you're complaining that you're injured or that you didn't sleep good or that like you're tired from school and, you got to do weights after and like, there's all these things going on in your life, right? And it's making you uncomfortable and like you can't perform at 100% because you have all these things happening, right? And I see it happen today in entrepreneurship, right? Where people are like, well, I got kids and I got this thing happening and the market's doing that. And so, they have all these excuses, right? Yeah. And he goes, Ryan, are you that crappy of a and he didn't use the word crappy. He's like, are you that crappy of a baseball player that you need to be at 100% to compete? Is that what you're telling me? You're that bad that you can only compete at 100%? And I was like, no. He's like, do you think like maybe you're good enough that you can still dominate people even if you're not 100%? I was like, yeah. And he's like, then shut up. Like, just go do it.
And go bat.
Yeah. And I was like, wow. And that stuck with me a really long time where everything I do today, I'm just like, I hear someone's excuse and I'm like, why are you telling me your excuse again? Because I don't care. But also too, like, so you're basically telling me you're incapable of doing this job or thing unless you have 100% perfect conditions and that's who you are. You're like that crappy.
Yeah. And I heard you mention that before in a different podcast and that actually stuck with me.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, the turning point for me to say, okay, no, we're going to create content the way that we should be and the way that we should be marketing ourselves and advertising ourselves as a design firm or a development firm.
Yeah.
But no, that resonated with me.
Yeah. And I think you're a design firm first and foremost, right? Because, this is why I brought you on to Tykes. Like, I had the idea for this NFT project and, I knew I wanted to get in NFTs and crypto, like some way, somehow. And as I started to think about the idea, and you talked about this earlier, conception to, I don't even remember what you called it, but execution, right? I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. All right, cool. Like, okay, first part is with NFTs, you need good artwork and everything else. And I was like, Amr's one of the most creative design-focused people I know. He understands watches. He understands fashion and clothing. His architecture's top-notch. Like, I know he would crush it with all the design elements and the branding elements, even though he's never had to do anything like this. And so, I reached out to you and I was like, hey, dude, here's what I'm thinking. I want your firm to design the brand and the NFTs and everything. And, I want your creative mind to help me also be creative and navigate the things we got to navigate. And you're like, yeah, I'm down, right? And then you did it. And obviously Tykes has been a very large success. But I think that might have opened your framework of like, well, actually, we're not even just an architectural firm now.
Correct. You're absolutely right. We've only ever done one other project that had nothing to do with architecture, and it was eyewear for a B-class celebrity. But once we did the Tykes NFT, I completely realized that we could design anything. Mm-hmm. Like the steps are exactly the same. Yep. You kind of mentioned this earlier also, where you're like, once you get to a point where you make, what did you call it? Manage, multiply. I think with design, we've gotten to a point where I could multiply my design. I don't personally have to be there all the time to make sure that my teams will execute something that will be my vision. We've created the processes for people to be able to plug into the system and will produce work that would be my vision, right? And once we did Tykes, it made it so much more clear to me that I could leverage that entire ecosystem to be able to almost design anything that we wanted. And we went on to design a bunch of other things, whether it was websites or all the other stuff. But you're absolutely right. But our core bread and butter is still architecture.
Yeah.
That's the vast majority of what our client base looks like.
Yeah. And I was telling you this too, like even with just your personal brand, you're like, Ryan, I tried making videos like you and it's not working. Right?
People don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Well, and I'm like, well, bro, you're not me. You need to like be you.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think they need to be a version of somebody else because it's successful for them. It's like, well, no, I'm unique in my own way. You are unique in your own way. You have different expertise, different hobbies, different, things And so you have to highlight those. And I was like, Amr, dude, honestly, you should be bigger than me. And you were like, what? I was like, yeah, the stuff that you do has so much more broad appeal than the stuff that I do. I was like, you got freaking Ferraris and all this stuff. You got all these watches and things. You love fashion and like Louis and Gucci and all this stuff. I was like, that's the stuff the majority of the world watches. Like my watch videos and things kill it. Like, and you could build this whole brand around design and being the guy who just knows design. And that has the reach of millions and millions just talking about these things.
You're absolutely right. And I've been thinking about that ever since that time we were talking about it in Miami. And I was like, why have I not done that? and I think fundamentally, I'm uncomfortable with the flashiness of my life, right?
But you are flashy.
But you said that point. You're like, but you are that. Like, who are you hiding from? You are that.
Look at you.
Look at exactly.
How much is that sweater?
Let's not talk about that.
Just tell me how much is that sweater? It looks like a normal sweater to me.
I honestly don't know, but it's Loro Piana, so I assume it's expensive.
Guess if you had to guess,
I don't know,
for
like
the audience.
$3,500.
$3,500 for that sweater.
Yes.
You could buy that at Walmart.
Probably. It wouldn't feel the soft, but
But that's my point, right?
Yeah.
Like you have these things and like that would be a good reel, dude. Like that's going to be a reel for sure. Like they're going to cut this up right now and that's going to be a reel.
So I'm going to go viral for this $3,500 sweater.
Oh, you're 1,000% going to go viral. And I'm going to say it looks like it's from Walmart.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, it does.
But to the point of you do a video like that, it gets all these views. People who know, and they're like, oh yeah, Amr knows. Like that dude knows his stuff. Like, if you're broke, you don't know what it is, like Ryan. But real people know.
Everyone on this podcast knows that you're not broke. Okay. If they stumbled upon this podcast, maybe they're unaware. But I think your following knows.
I mean, my $50 Cuts shirt, I thought that's a pretty good expensive shirt.
I think it is. Yeah. And speaking of this,
you told me you had like a $2,000 like just blank shirt too.
It's the same brand.
Oh, they're all the same brand.
They're all the same brand. So actually, this color in Loro Piana signifies a specific fabric. So for those that know, this is a particular fabric that they only make, which is Vacuna. The animal's fur is in this color, or it's
a Vacuna is an animal.
Correct. It looks like a hybrid between a llama and a brown cow.
I'm looking this up while you speak. Yep. Okay.
And they basically have a monopoly on it. They have the only herd or something that still exists.
Oh wow! Yeah, the Vacuna is an animal. Wow.
Yeah, and it's a super rare breed or something to that end.
Yep.
And they're the only people that make fabrics out of it. So yeah.
How do they have a monopoly on these Vacunas?
I don't think anyone else knows what to do with their fabric or has actually commercialized it. So. And it's super soft, so it's like softer than cashmere and all this other stuff.
The first YouTube video is why Vacuna wool is so expensive.
Exactly.
So expensive.
It is really expensive.
That's so funny. But see, that's a great reel. Like you're like, yo, I bought this sweater for $3,500 because it's Vacuna. So Vacuna is this llama thing that,
it's super expensive for
it's
some
super
reason.
rare and expensive. And this company, whatever they're called, is the only people that do it.
Yeah.
And this is why it's valuable because there's just none. Supply and demand.
Yeah. And they've created this niche, right? Where if you see people wearing this particular color sweater, jacket, t-shirt, then you know that, and they have their own design aesthetic. They have their own IP.
I'm looking right now by just searching Vacuna. Okay. The shop Vacuna on Google. It's showing this Loro Piana. And like a crew T-shirt, it's showing as 5,000. There's this jacket that's 26,000.
Okay, so it wasn't 3,500.
There's a bomber jacket that's
I may have
11,000. Dude, this brand is crazy.
Do you want to get into Vacuna? We should maybe start a Vacuna herd.
Yeah, I want to herd Vacuna. Yeah, I don't want to buy it, but I want to definitely like farm them. Yeah,
exactly.
Hey, if you're looking to grow your real estate investing business, whether you're just getting started trying to get your first deal or you're trying to scale and get to the next level, you need to join us at Wealthy Investor. We've got events every single quarter that are absolutely crazy. We've got online coaching programs where we have Zoom calls, a community every single week. We give you everything you need to know to start your business, scripts, processes, SOPs, all of it. It's for you so that you can dominate. So if you want to learn more about how to join our community and be mentored by me and some of our top coaches and be around other students who are absolutely crushing it, go to wealthyinvestor.com, apply for a free call with my team. Once again, wealthyinvestor.com, apply for a call today.
So I think what I was really uncomfortable with is this idea that I grew up very humble. Like my parents didn't have a whole lot of money or anything to that end. So to know that I am the person that I am today is a big pill to swallow.
In a bad way?
In a bad way. It's difficult because I never thought of myself as a person that would be able to afford a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or any of the things that I have today. I never perceived myself that way, but I just eventually found myself here. And, you know, for better or for worse, I am that person. And I somewhat was always that person. I was really creative to no end and kind of always levitated towards the finer things in life. And it's probably because I also grew up with very little. So I was like, damn, one day.
I mean, that's very typical. Like, you know, guys from the streets, like they grow up wanting the nice watch because they see all these other guys with it and then they do it.
Yeah. And by the way, I didn't know any of the stuff that I know today when I was a child. Like, Rolex was probably the apex thing. And, you know, a BMW would have been my dream car.
Yeah.
Like, honest to God. But today I'm like, maybe we should build our own car. Like, and how the world has changed.
Yeah.
For me, at least.
Yeah. You were telling me about this yesterday at dinner. You have like a FP Journ on right now. You said you sold all your Pateks because you thought that they were kind of like now overvalued.
So I think Pateks on the secondary market are extremely overvalued, and same thing goes for AP. I'd say the same for Rolex, but Rolex has a very wide appeal, and it's almost a status symbol. I don't really see as many people trading Rolex. But for Patek and AP, I do think they're extremely overvalued, and I think they've somewhat reached saturation. Everyone that really wants a Patek and everyone that could afford one probably has one right now. And you're waiting for the next wave of people that would be able to buy it up. And case in point, when the crypto markets crashed, that was the people that were buying them next. Now they're selling them because they can't afford them anymore, right? Mm-hmm. With FP Journ, their supply is 1/10 that of Patek, right?
Wow. And
their collector base is the same collector base that would have ideally levitated towards Patek, but no longer feel that boutique customer experience that they would have had historically with Patek as a small watch manufacturer. Now it's a behemoth of its own. And FP Journ, Francois Paul himself, is still with us, and he's still producing these masterpieces. And the finishing quality to which FP Journ goes through compared to Patek, and mind you, we've had this conversation before, and Patek is probably the apex predator. I think FP Journ puts them to shame in terms of quality of design and execution on their product. It's just like putting a Rolex and a Patek next to one another. Yes, both are extremely well-built products, but you could tell that one is a finer product than the other.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing if you put a Patek and an FP Journ side by side next to one another. And I remember the first time I got introduced to FP Journ was by one of my friends, and he was actually trying to buy a Patek. And he was like, hey, can you create an introduction for me? And I took him to Tiffany Patek at the time, and I created the intro. And then he was like, you know what? I'm going to do you a favor. There is a brand that is much better than Patek. I was like, there's nothing better than Patek, man. And he was like, no, there really is. I was like, you're a hater. You can't you're hating from outside the club. You can't even get in. Right?
Richard Mille?
I can't get that yet. And I still hate on Richard Mille. And I think I hate on them now because of their success.
Okay.
I've been very introspective about why I hate on RM from a distance. So anyway, he took me to FP Journ, and immediately I was like, you're right. And the rest is history. I've been asking the FP Journ boutique for almost everything in their lineup because I genuinely believe that they're far superior, and they're actually cheaper price per, that price for value. They're cheaper than Patek.
What do they have one in Vegas?
They don't have one in Vegas. They have one in LA. And Francois Paul's brother actually runs it.
Okay.
And then they have another boutique in Miami.
All right. Let them know if they need a famous podcasters looking for an FP Journ.
Actually, Aaron, their head of sales, was trying to get on your podcast.
Oh.
And I created an intro because he's tried creating his own watch, but he still has a very close connection with them. But I think you should have Aaron on your podcast. And I've actually asked him for a watch for you. And we're waiting to see when that happens.
Okay. I'm ready. Because we all know when you get those ones MSRP, you're good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
They're phenomenal. And especially for someone like you, where you actually don't care. Like, you never buy these things because you are ever going to trade them. You buy them because you like them. And, you know, you accumulate wealth in a variety of different asset classes. And this is one of those. And I think this is the right move for sure.
All right. Well, you know, last podcast, like, you know, you're getting me to buy a watch and a nice car. And, you know, what was the other thing you made me do? Oh, dye my hair. So I think I'll probably end up with an FP Jordan at some point.
So while we're on this podcast, I think one thing that we should get into is family office money.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of leverage here with the enterprise that you've built. And over the next few years, a lot of people will be reaching out to you to leverage the trust and the brand that you've been able to build in real estate.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely the next move.
Yeah. Yeah. We, you know, just so to context everyone, Amr first approached me about like doing development together. He's like, dude, let's do development together. I'll find land and everything. You raise capital and like we'll design and develop and everything. And I'm like, dude, development's cool. Like, I love the idea of it because I love building things from nothing.
Yeah.
That's why I build businesses and other things. Like, I just love the creativity of building things from nothing. And, you know, we haven't done it together yet because, well, we're doing it on my house on the mountain.
Yeah.
You're designing that. So that is our development. But as far as like other investments, we haven't really done it yet. It's been kind of like on the back burner because I've been focused on all these other things I'm doing. But now we're getting so many opportunities. One from, you know, Pineda Capital is always getting deals sent to us all the time. But now that we've launched Pineda Ventures, where we're going to be buying businesses and, you know, all these things, we're just getting deal flow of businesses and all these different things. And now we're getting family offices who are reaching out to us like, hey, we're interested in investing in your business deals and your real estate deal. Like, we got money, we got to park it. And so, you know, you and I have had meetings with those guys already. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, they're very forthright and they've been very clear that they want to do business with you specifically because of the brand that you've built. And also one of their most preferred asset classes is real estate because it's one of those asset classes that doesn't depreciate as much as the stock market, for example. You can't wake up one day and see your portfolio depreciate by 30-40%.
Right.
So it's a very safe asset class for them, especially when you're looking at development where there's very little value in what you're buying and you're creating all the upside. So to that extent, I see that in your future on top of dyeing your hair and getting a really nice watch.
There we go. So on the Pineda Ventures side, you know, you and I have talked a lot about it because you used to work for a family office.
Correct.
And so you used to vet deals and underwrite and find opportunities and everything else. And, you know, with Tykes, we have, you know, our Tykes Unleashed, which allow people to invest with us as well. And, you know, it's going to be this amazing thing. You've expressed so much interest in like, dude, I just want to be a part of Pineda Ventures some way, somehow.
Yeah.
What makes you so excited?
What makes me excited is the opportunity to connect all the different leverage points that you've built and I've built over the years that we could go out to market and crush today. So this is a low hanging fruit for us. It's not something that we need to really build. It's just we've had all the different moving bits. And now from funding to business opportunities being sent to us to having some of the best underwriters in the industry, whether it be for business or for real estate, we're really primed to be able to partner with our community and other family offices. So a lot of money floating around, not knowing what to do.
Yep.
And we happen to be a central hub of real estate deals that are off market or business deals that are also off market. And between all the talent that we've developed over the years, we could position ourselves and our partners in the right way to create the biggest momentum and the biggest leverage.
Yeah.
So to me, it seems like we already have the infrastructure. We just need to connect all the people the right way, which is something that we're doing with Tykes Unleashed and some of the tech that we're putting on board. So that's what really excites me, is that it's something that is an opportunity we can monetize today, not an opportunity that we need to build for over the course of a year.
Right.
We could go to market today and raise the capital today, and it'd be a relatively easy raise given all the opportunities that we have on the table right now.
Yeah. No, I like that we do have both, I guess players, because like on one hand, the family offices and everyone we're talking to, they only want big deals.
Correct.
Like they're not investing in the small ones. And then, the Unleashed and everyone else on the other hand, they can't invest in those massive, like, I mean, these family offices are like, dude, we got like billions that we need to park. So like, don't send us anything that's not 9 figures.
Yeah. They said it was 420 billion. I was like, sorry, say what?
So, you have like, both sides of the coin of, different deal flow. So if anyone has deals, okay, business, real estate, you can go to pinedaventures.com and submit your deal. The website should be up by the time this podcast airs, but yeah, I'm excited for that, dude.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It sounds like a lot of growth, both on both ends, the family office end and, every investor that we have in the Tykes Unleashed community that otherwise wouldn't have been able to get access to high profile deals like the ones that we have on the table right now.
Yep. No, 1,000%. Yeah. I said it on a previous podcast, like 2023 is going to be the year of business buying for me. And, really going harder than ever before. And, we've been starting new ones so far this year. We started, we did Pro Host, which is our new Airbnb program and business. And we're launching Wealthy Business with, my business coach, Gary Harper, as a way to give entrepreneurs coaching on everything they need, not just real estate investors, but entrepreneurs overall, with just KPIs and hiring and firing and managing and building culture and organization. So I'm excited about that. And we got so many things in the works. So it's just like, it's a lot.
Yeah. And, what you said just reminded me. I remember when we were in, where were we? Cabo. And we were just hanging poolside. I was like, you know what, Ryan? I think you should buy businesses moving forward or something to that end.
Yeah.
And I think the week after, you went from concept to execution.
Yeah.
You just announced that you're going to buy, I think you announced that you're going to buy 12 businesses.
Yeah, one a month.
Yeah, which is one a month. I think you've beaten your record so far.
We're above pace.
Yeah. So you're on track to be successful on that. But that again reminded me of going from concept to execution and having the infrastructure to be able to do that is not easy.
No.
And that's, I think, what sets you apart from the competition. And for that, thank you for showing everyone the way.
We're trying. Well, we definitely have lots and lots to learn, obviously. But it's exciting, man. I think when you're passionate about something, which I am, I just love like starting businesses and new businesses and helping businesses. Like I really love it. And I love real estate too. I love them both. Like real estate's just a business. But I also love being able to share the journey and the things I learn from it, because everything I start talking about on social media in these shows, it's not like I research topics to talk about. I'm just like, hey, here's something like I'm now going through that I want to share. Here's something that I just learned that's kind of mind blowing. Here's, whatever. And so being able to just keep on doing things that expand my experience and knowledge, and that in turn leads to more opportunities, and I get to share it with people and talk to people about it. It's cool. Yeah,
it really is. And having watched how much you've been able to implement over the last 3 years, and we spoke about this before we started the podcast. I remember when you first started talking about, everyone needs to do social media, and now having the studio. Wow. Honestly, wow. You really take everything to heart and you really deliver on it. And that's phenomenal. I really, really enjoyed watching all of this happen.
Yeah.
From the sidelines.
We got to get you going, dude.
We got to get me in social media, man.
Dude, well, that's why. Oh, yeah. So we have Pineda Media. I forgot. We started that. So PinedaMedia.com, where we're going to take guys like Amr and do their social media for them.
And make them a personality. Because
like, for instance, I mean, that's basically what happened, right? You were like, hey, I want to do social media. And I'm like, dude, I got you. You're going to be in Wealthy Creator. And so, you're in Wealthy Creator. And then you're still not doing it. And I'm like, bro, what do we got to do to get you? So then, we have, like a talk, and I'm like, all right, let's first figure out what the heck your brand is, personally, not,
Yeah.
we know what your design brand is, but you personally, like, if you're going to grow on social media, what's it going to be? And then, we kind of break it down, and it's like, all right, like, design. You can be the guy who's focused on design of all things, right?
Yeah.
And it's a huge market, a huge demographic, and now it's just time to execute.
Yeah.
And it's like, we can do that. We can go produce all the content. We can help you get ideas. We can film. We got the studio sets. We can post it all for you. Like, we can do it all.
I'm excited. I mean, I can't wait to start. Where do I sign?
Yeah, I don't have it on me. I'll send you the sales team.
But you're absolutely right. I'm extremely passionate about design. It's one of the things that drive me. When you were talking about the hedgehog thing, design is definitely up there for passion.
Oh yeah.
And for those of you that want to work with me on design,
Yeah.
it's samahastudio.com.
samahastudio.com. They design Tykes. He's got my mountain design. That house, by the way, I mean, we haven't ever revealed the house because I still don't really know what we're going to do with it. For those who don't know, I bought a mountain a little over 2 years ago, and Amr and I remember we were talking about it. I was showing him the deal 2+ years ago. He's like, I'll design it for you. And I was like, whatever, dude. Guy with me care. And this is before we were friends. And then, obviously now you've been designing it for over a year. And, I've kind of been holding off on it because I just moved into my new house and like, it's good. And
Beautiful
I love it.
home, by the way.
Thank you. And I'm just like, do I even want to build this thing? Because my current house is great and amazing. And like, even though this house would be 10x that, do I really need it or whatever? So I got the land up for sale right now, for anyone interested at $6.5 million. So it would be a nice flip if I do sell it. But if I don't, I'm also like, whatever, like, let's develop it and flip it.
And it'd also be a nice flip for whoever buys it off you.
Right.
Because even though it's $6.5 million, that might sound like a steep number, given the design and the location of your home. We were looking at comps that were in the 30-some million dollars, just right across the other side of your mountain. Right?
Yep. So yeah, I mean, even if somebody paid $6.5 million and they could go build this house for 10,
exactly.
There's
that's
lots of
double
money to
their
make.
money.
Yep.
Yeah. So to that end, I still think it's a stellar deal,
Yeah.
even at that price point.
Yeah. Well, no, you think I should just build it myself. That's what you think.
I do, because I hope that you could just keep all that wealth to yourself, but I also see that you have so many different battles that you're fighting at the same time. So I understand if you want to get rid of one other project or business that is
that
taking
thing in
up a lot of
itself
your
is a whole
capacity.
business.
It is a whole business, and it generates business money. Like big
it will
business
generate
money.
real money.
Yeah, like
8
big
figures.
money. Exactly. So for anyone out there, developers that are interested in buying probably the most unique property in Las Vegas.
It is the most unique piece
Exactly.
of land, for sure.
So to that end, it's the most unique design, it's the most unique location, and it's in the most coveted neighborhood in Vegas. So for anyone out there, hit Ryan up.
You said you didn't like to sell. That was a good sales pitch.
Well, I'm trying. I said I'd try.
No, that was a good pitch. It's funny because Mindy's like, I hope it doesn't sell. And I'm just like, I mean, honestly, I'm also like, yeah, I mean, if it sells, it sells. If it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. Like, we'll give it until I feel the calling to start developing it.
Yeah. I'm excited either way, because in either direction,
It's a win.
It's a win.
Yeah. Well, and that's what happens too in real estate. If you get a good deal, you're going to win.
Yeah.
And that's what that was.
Good deal, right operations, right team members, you're always going to win.
Yeah. So what's your plan this year with the design studio? You guys going to just kind of grow that, or what's the plan?
So this year I'm focusing on what you told me I should focus on, which is branding myself and marketing our business, because historically all the business that we have has just been word of mouth.
Yeah.
It's people like you that recommend me to someone else, and they're like, oh my God, this guy is really good.
Yeah.
I've never paid a single dollar ever for marketing or advertising, and we're switching that around.
I was gonna say that's not a that's not something to be proud of.
Exactly. You sighed really deep, and I understand why, right? Because you're absolutely right. No one will know who I am. I could die broke and penniless, even if I'm the best artist in the world and the best designer in the world, if no one knows who I am, right?
Yep.
And that really resonated with me. So our biggest thing with design is we're really pushing it. We've been speaking with you about whether it'd be something that could fit within your ecosystem and you'd help propel it as a business on the marketing and sales side of things. So those are the two things that we're doing for design. We're not really adding any other verticals to it. So we're just sticking with the core architectural and design products that we have. One other thing that we did is we took all the designs that we've done for our own developments, so not developments like yours or any of the other clients, and we've pre-packaged them and brought them down to a much cheaper price point. And we're selling those as prepackaged designs specific to people's homes. So hypothetically speaking, if Ryan wanted to move into a new home and didn't want to hire a new architect to do their home, they could just hire me. I'd show them a template of 15 other home designs that we've done. You'd pick one and would implement it into your home. And that, for me, saves a lot of time. So, a design that would have cost...
Not everything's just from scratch.
Exactly. A design that would have cost $200,000 to an end user can now be for $10,000, $15,000.
Yeah.
Because in aggregate...
And it's, what do they call that? Semi-custom?
It's basically semi-custom.
Yeah.
But I think of it as fractional design. So I'm fractionalizing the cost
it
of design.
is custom.
Yeah,
but
it is. Yeah.
I see like a lot of luxury builders start like they do that. They're like
exactly because you're fractionalizing that overhead. It's so much, and then if you bring it down to everyone's buy point, you could sell it to 10 individuals that will never meet each other, and it will still get you the $200,000 that you needed.
Yeah. Nobody would. It's not like they're all on the same block.
No.
Yeah.
They're probably scattered throughout 300 million people in the U.S.
Yeah. For all intents and purposes, nobody has what you have.
Exactly.
At least near you.
Exactly. And you'd still get a product that's extremely well designed, which is everything we produce in our studios.
Yeah. What about just like do you plan to do other design at all? Like not real estate?
I've been pondering with this idea of fashion design. I was actually about to hire a few people within the company in the design studio to do that. But it's just a very aggressive market.
Yeah,
and
that's a hard market to break through.
It is, and you need a lot of brand presence and awareness, which I know you guys already have, and you're already pushing on that. So my play is to wait and see what you guys do and piggyback off that, maybe create a hybrid brand with your brand. But yeah, we'll see what happens with design outside of product design and real estate design. But as of right now, I have no other plans than to just grow the architectural practice. We've started our private equity side of the business, and we've been taking on a lot of funds for a lot of the developments that we're doing, and we've taken on a lot more developments throughout the country. So that's also something that I'm extremely excited about, and has actually been doing great. So I'm excited about that side of the business as well.
Right. Yeah, man. The thing that's tough for me in development is just like, I make no money for a really long time.
So we're changing that.
Okay.
So the current model has, acquisition fees and things to that end that kind of make it operationally viable more immediately than just waiting for a payday at the very end of, let's say, 2-3 years. And some of the developments we're actually just selling as the development. So we do all the development work. We find the property. We create all the development work necessary, and then just we hand it off to someone else that's a builder that's more primed to get into the construction space, and they just want something they can break into today. So instead of us having to go through the entire cycle, it's basically a year's worth of work, and at the end of every year, we cash out on those developments that we've put forth.
Yeah. No, 100%. I love it. Well, bro, it's always good hanging out with you, man. Happy we get to do another episode together. I'm excited for everything we are doing. We'll link to all those just different things down in the description that we talked about. But, bro, let's keep crushing it, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Guys, we'll see you on the next one. Peace. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that podcast. Thanks for making it to the end. The good news is I've got another one that I know you're going to like, and all you got to do is click it right here. Linking it right here. All you got to do is just click it, and you're going to see this new episode that you're going to love.